Hi, welcome to a very special episode of Hot Takes. I have one of my very regular and very welcome guests. It is, of course, Leslie Roberts, a hero and a very good friend of the channel. And she has come on today, and I'm going to basically just let her take control of this because it's a very important subject. And she's going to tell you all about a police investigation that seems to be going in a very strange direction. It's called Operation Tala. So, first of all, Leslie, welcome once again to the channel.
Thank you for the invitation, David.
No problem at all. It's always a pleasure to have you on. You're
Is
always
it?
entertaining and you're always informative, which is nice.
Well, you should try living with me. You wouldn't say that.
I bet it's an education. I would like you to tell the good people out there in YouTube land about Operation Tala, what it is, and what's actually happening to it.
Well, let's revert back, if I respectfully may, to when Roger Livermore and Rab Wilson and I made our initial complaint to Police Scotland. So you're going back almost 3 years ago and you're talking about the 1st of March 2023. So Rab, Roger, and I appear at Cowcaddon's police office. So we are attempting to tell the police, whoever's behind the desk, what our issues were with regards to COVID. And we decided to do this because we knew if we'd done it online, it could be, oh, it's fell through the net or whatever. But if you actually turned up and put your face to it, you were actually telling them that this is really important. You have to listen. So you're looking at Roger Livermore, who is an ex-Crown prosecutor who worked in line with the HSE, and he's got 6 titles. So he's a very, very, very clever man when it comes to the law. You're talking about Rab Wilson, an ex-whistleblower, also part of the organisation set up by himself and Roger, called, I think it's ASAP NHS. So
Mhm.
it's a safe, people's accountable NHS, which you're never going to find. But anyway, so there was those two, plenty of experience. Their organisation, their voluntary organisation, had been launched in Parliament. So it was accepted that this was not a paid quango, but it was an organisation that was set up to help others. So
Yeah.
you had those two, and you had me, ex-registered nurse, who was very vocal about what was happening during the COVID pandemic. So we appear at Cowcaddon's 1st of March, state who we are, what we're about, what we're trying to report. And it was as if we just weren't there. Now, I'm not trying to sound snobby in any way whatsoever, but we were not people who turned up at the police office just out of the blue to say, I lost my umbrella down the street or something. We were people who had been professionals in our own right, and we were trying to bring to them a very serious matter of corporate manslaughter. Now, they didn't really want to entertain us until I had kind of thought strategically beforehand, and I had written to the Lord Advocate and at that time the head of the Police Scotland, and they had told me, if you think a crime has been committed, the trajectory that you should be taking is going to Police Scotland and making that complaint. So I took my letters out my bag and said, Lord Advocate and your boss, there it is, have told me to come here. So I, at the very least, am looking for a reference number. So away he went in the back, and there was some kind of dispute with someone senior in the back who's yet to even come out and speak to us, and basically said, spoke to my inspector, whoever he was, my senior officer, still not got a name to this person, who has told me, I've just to give you a reference number. So took no details of us, nothing, just a reference number. So quite a lot of time then went by until someone contacted me, and the complaint got taken forward. So from that point onwards, I have absolutely no issue with how the complaint was taken forward. Because the police were here about, they met with me for specific things at least 5 times and have taken away 5 statements, recordings, and almost 100 productions.
Hmm.
So I've got no complaints with them whatsoever. So don't get me wrong on this. However, what I didn't know and I subsequently became more aware of further down the line was that in 2022, the Deputy Chief Constable of Police Scotland, a man called Alan Spears, had put a directive together called Operation Tala. Now, Operation Tala, if you look at Operation Tala, what that is basically stopping the public from doing is going to a police office and making a complaint about it's more surrounding how would you pronounce this better? People who have been injured by the vaccine. So it's more surrounding that, and no one can actually go to a police office and make a complaint about a vaccine injury, which I
So,
think is
so,
absolutely
so, Leslie,
wrong.
just break down. I just want to get this one out. So, what
Uh-huh.
you're saying is that the police have, subsequent to your initial complaint, are
Yep.
put in a new procedure to stop people doing what you have done and complained about, and make legal complaint about anything that's happened via the vaccine they've received.
There's a bit of dubiety here, David, because what you've got is me complaining about a number of things, which is now in, it's now in the public domain. It's
Hmm.
about the death protocols. It's about
Yeah.
DNA, CPR. But at no point did I ever make a complaint about the vaccine, because, to be quite frank, I had so much else that I was trying to do. I
Yeah.
never ever touched on the vaccine. And I've always been absolutely transparent and open about that, and
Hmm.
said to people that at no point did I investigate the vaccine
Oh
because
no,
I
no,
just
no!
didn't have the time.
I wasn't saying you were complaining that the vaccine itself was wrong. What I meant was the police procedure was they just didn't want to know anything about any complaints about the vaccine or about COVID or about injuries. They just wanted it. Just please go away. We don't want to talk about it.
Pretty much. So
Yeah, yeah.
that's what.
That's why I just wanted to get that sort of laid out so
Uh-huh.
people were aware. Yeah, sorry.
No,
Please.
not at all. I would rather you would come in,
Yeah.
because if I'm not, making myself, it sounds clear to me, but from,
You know,
the
yes, but
person,
you're
yeah,
the expert here. You know whereof you speak. Where I just wanted to just clarify a few things for people who are coming in and listening on, because
yeah.
they won't know what you know. They won't know what I know. They're just sort of like
Mhm.
listening in, and they're not aware of how actually terrible and corrupt really all this
Oh,
is.
the country's
I
gone.
know.
Um, so that got me thinking, did the police in 2023 think that I was complaining about vaccine injuries, and that's why they didn't want to speak to me? So that kind of concerned me a wee bit. But at that point, I wasn't aware that a directive had been put in place by Alan Spears in 2022. Now, if you look at Operation Tala, and if you look at someone online called Mark Sexton, Sexton, he is very vocal about what's going on. And he is actually an ex police officer like myself.
Mhm.
So he is talking, I think, though he's got much more experience in the job than I had, but
Yeah.
he is very vocal about what your job is as a police officer. And at no point, even in my time as a police officer, which wasn't to his extent, was I ever told you can't reject concerns from the public. That's not what your role is. So I was thinking that perhaps, maybe I was thinking too much out the box, but I was thinking perhaps, did they not want to speak to Roger Rabb and I because of this Operation Tala?
Hmm.
So
Yeah, because
potentially,
it would potentially open up a whole can of worms for them that they would rather not have opened?
Well, yes. I mean, what? And I basically asked them that when there was some correspondence just before Christmas with myself and the investigating officer who was dealing with me. It's my case is now with the Crown. And I said to her, I asked her specific questions about Operation Tala. And I was asking them, is this a coordinated framework and a structure which you are delving into here? And basically I was asked if I wanted to make a complaint. Now I kind of thought, do I want to go back down the route of a complaint again? And then I thought, well, do you know something? Yes, I am going to make a complaint. So excuse me, I raised a complaint that basically it was everything involved in, that had happened and where we were with this, and yet not one single person has actually responded to it. So they're saying to me, do you want to make a complaint about Operation Tala? I said yes, and no one then responded. So I wrote to them again on the 3rd of this month, and I said, DPSD, I've attached correspondence sent to you on the 20th of last month. Can you please confirm that you received this correspondence? And there's been nothing again. So it is quite concerning that no one seems to want to take this forward. And yet, never in all the years since I've been born have I ever heard the police not allowing people to make a complaint.
No, it's suspicious at least, isn't it? To say no more than that, it is suspicious.
Well, I think that if the member of the public thinks a crime has been committed, they have every right to report that alleged crime. Now, where
And the police must have a duty to, even if it's only summarily, but to investigate. Even if it's only go, oh well, we've looked and there's nothing. But
yes,
a complaint's been made, they should do. They should action something, shouldn't they?
yes, but by all accounts, this officer Spears appeared to have a single objective, and that was to ensure that no one was able to come forward and report a COVID vaccination concern. So, why would he do that? And who directed him to do
Yeah, I
that?
mean that can't be his decision. He is not
No.
high enough up the tree to make a decision like that. So that's come down from on high. That's either come down from the very top of the police, or probably and more likely, it's a political decision.
Yes.
Yes.
I think potentially, given everything you're now seeing with political interference with the QE and Ravenscraig Hospital and COVID, you've now got potentially, and I'm using that word softly and lightly, that the government are telling the police don't allow people to make a COVID vaccine injury. And everybody has got the given right to go to the police and say, I believe a crime has been committed. And given that everything that's now coming out about the COVID vaccinations, I think people were right
Hmm.
in their decision to try and highlight this. And you're seeing that with people like John Watt, who's very vocal, Bring on the Noise, I think it's called, who's very vocal about, COVID vaccination injuries, and others, who are very concerned as well because maybe a parent has died or something. And my mother got them and she died in 2021 and she was given them. Now, I'm not saying that in any way that they were related, but now we know what was in them,
Well,
whether they're
it's one
been.
of these things that there's no direct provable link, shall we say, but it seems that there's certain things happening, certain diseases happening that
Hmm.
weren't there before, which are now, and it's only the causal link. No, we're not saying, sorry, causal is too strong a word. Corresponding link rather than any sort of causality. You can't say it was caused by, but it happened at the same time. That corresponding link of vaccine and these new forms of disease that are coming up are very aggressive cancers and things.
Yes. And you, just reverting here to Jean Freeman, and I hope I don't get bad press for this because no genuine harm is meant by these comments, but she was only diagnosed with cancer a short time ago, and it seemed to be a terminal cancer because she was dead within a short time.
Yeah, yeah, she's very, very quick.
Very, very quickly. So you're seeing that regularly where people are, you know, feeling ill, dying very quickly. There seems to be no real, there's no tie in link to what it could be, if that makes any sense.
Yeah,
Like in the olden days,
yeah. There's no, you can't say that there's a directly caused by
yes,
this, but it seems that that sort of correlation between taking that and this. So while there's no provable link, it does seem as though it's correlated in some way. Yeah.
yes,
You got to be very
I would
careful what I
totally
say because I
agree.
don't want to be sitting there and getting sued by the makers of this and saying, "Oh, you say it's caused cancer." I'm not saying that. I'm not saying that. There's no cause. I've got to clarify. I'm not saying that the direct link or it's caused by, but there's a correlation in time frame.
I would say that at the very least, it's showcasing concerns about what's in these injections.
Yeah, yeah,
And I mean, I knew that the government and the public sector during COVID were lying about everything. And that is obviously, I've kind of backed that up now because it's now with the Crown. But I, in no circumstances, was going to take one of the injections. Now, had I been still in post at that point, I would have been in court against my employer because I believe it absolutely was, if they should not have been saying, you need to take that, your human right is to say, I'm not
no,
wanting an
no,
injection. And yet, human rights, everything was getting superseded by this Scottish government guidance,
mm,
and it was guidance to take the JAG and you had to take it. So, guidance was superseding legislative and common law. And that is absolutely wrong.
yeah, yeah. I had one injection, and I only got one injection so I could go on holiday, and I refused all the others.
Yep.
My son hasn't had a single one. He calls himself pure blood,
So,
and yeah, yeah.
I absolutely,
And I
I mean,
regret having the one I had.
oh,
Yeah,
absolutely. My partner has had a couple, and I thought, what are you doing? And anybody who would say to me, what's your view on the vaccinations? And I would never offer a view because I had never really investigated them. But what I would say is, given that they're lying about everything else and putting people on NG Nice 160 191, what I believe to be death protocols, I do not want to take a jab. I'm not doing it. I'm not taking a jab. But I
no,
have always been, I don't take the flu jab or anything either.
no. I don't know. I haven't had a flu jab. I've never had a flu jab. I keep getting off of it, but I think since COVID, I've become very wary. I think
Uh-huh.
I don't want to put anything in me that I don't know what it is.
No,
Yeah,
exactly.
yeah,
It's like when you're eating food, you have to be. I mean, I'm a vegan, but I'm very careful in salads. Is my salad washed? Is my tomatoes washed?
mm.
Everything, washed.
Oh yeah. I go down the route of organic.
Yes,
Yeah,
exactly. But what you've got here, and what I've said since day one, is you've got a Lord Advocate who, under Section 44 and 48 of the Scotland Act 1998, is sitting as a government minister who set the terms for Operation Copper. You've then got the Deputy Chief Constable putting in place an Operation Tala to stop anybody being able to raise concerns about the vaccinations. It's as if there is this almost invisible wall of steel that the public, despite paying for all these services, can't actually go over to ask questions.
oh, they don't want you asking questions, Leslie.
I
Good
know,
Lord.
but
You
I
ask
know,
questions, they might have to answer them. That's the last thing they want. They don't want the truth coming out. You'll see
I
how
know.
awful they are. Yeah.
Well, I'm still waiting my next car to go boom, really, aren't I?
Yeah,
I just feel that they don't want it's turned into a country that I don't recognise anymore.
yeah. A lot of people are saying that. A lot of people are saying Scotland isn't the
Oh,
same.
dear God, you've got the public sector arrogant, absolutely arrogant, lording it over us. You've got their oversight bodies who have no real inclination to challenge anything, because I'm just arguing with the SPSO this morning. They don't challenge anything. They allow them to breach the timeframes, breach the law. The law doesn't seem to apply to us, and yet
No,
it applies to all, sorry, it doesn't seem to apply to them,
no,
and
only
yet
to us. Yeah.
I mean, I
And
was
the
complaining
other
of,
thing is they hand everything out to Quangos so they don't become accountable. That's the
yes,
Quangos dealing with, not me. So it all goes tits up. It's the Quangos' fault, nothing to do with me. You know.
yeah. I mean, I'll give you this really took the biscuit. I've been complaining about pothole damage to my car. Potholes is the bane of my life.
I
And I wrote to Amy, I'm going to take Amy to court. And they wrote back saying that they no longer have a legal jurisdiction to make the roads safe.
Unbelievable.
They put that in writing. I've had it in the
I live
paper.
in a village and we've got a pothole down on our main road. You could lose a dog in it. And it's a death trap. If you're on a motorbike and go in there, it'll kill you.
I
And
know.
yet they know about it and no, nothing gets done.
And yet everything, the council tax keep going up, and
Yeah.
all these, the government minister, well, they're not a government here, they're an assembly, getting 20,000 increases. They don't have to worry about council tax increases. They've just
No.
put 20,000.
Yeah.
It's just, but this Operation Tala is really concerning me. They asked me to put my concerns in writing, is what I've done, and now won't correspond with me. So where is my concerns gone? And why did they ask me to put them in place in the first place if they weren't going to do anything about them?
Because they think if you've got your number, look, you've got your little incident number, you'll bugger off. That's the end of that. That's how
Oh,
they think.
I think they know that
They,
I'm not going to bugger off
I'm
anytime
going to
soon.
say, they don't know you very well, do they?
Well, I think the police now have got an idea of what I'm all about.
Yeah.
But the problem is apathy. If people, my dad died, we think it's connected to that jag, but never mind, let's move on. If people do not start opening their eyes to this arrogant behaviour, it's going to be the end of any free speech at all.
Yeah.
And
Oh,
that worries
it's a
me.
police state. Scotland is turning into a police state.
Oh, it is.
Yeah.
And that's the sad bit. And you've got this Mr. Spears basically telling all his officers that if anybody comes to you to report a COVID vaccination injury, do not accept the complaint.
Hmm.
Now, if somebody thinks the law has been broken, the first place you go is the police, isn't it?
The theory, yeah. The theory.
I mean, people have been left with no confidence. I've certainly no confidence in the Crown, and I hope they will investigate this. But you only have to look at the finance issue with Nicola Sturgeon. I don't care about who took money or what happened with that. I care about how that was investigated. And all of a sudden, the two MSPs walk away from this, and the chief executive is on the hot seat for it.
Hmm.
You're not telling me that you can live in the same house with someone and not know that there's a camper van on the go. I would love that. I would be away every weekend.
Yeah.
But there's something, Dory, the whole thing. And I spoke to Liam Kerr, the MSP, about it, and he was telling me that he's put something in writing as well about the separation of powers with the Lord Advocate. There's only two countries apparently in the whole world that run in line with Lord Advocate and Solicitor General as part of the government, and we're one of them.
Hmm.
How is that possibly correct? And then when you write to Douglas Alexander asking him to oversee the legislation, he just ignores you as well.
I don't think he's going to be there much longer.
I don't think any of them are going to be there much
No.
longer. I mean, anybody to do, I mean, this whole Epstein thing is now taking feet and walking, and
Hmm.
rightly so. All those victims, all how would you feel as a young girl getting trafficked between men? It's disgusting.
Yeah.
It
But
really, really,
but
really
not
upset.
not to the elite. That for the elite. It's like this is what they do.
There's
You know,
just no
if there was any
consideration.
decency, Starmer would have gone, but he's not decent. He's not. He's not even human. You know.
Well, Anas Sarwar has basically,
I
and
saw that. He came out and said Starmer must go, and then the whole of the cabinet basically circled wagons around him and left him out in the cold. But I agree, him and there's another guy, Lamb, Roger Lamb, is it? Peter Lamb. Anyway, another MP. He's come out and said it as well. Um, but yeah, I mean, there's to be fair, Aaron Anasawa, give him his due. He's had the balls to come out and say that. You know, it took a bit of
yeah.
spine to do it to go against your party like that.
But is he doing it for his own political stance? And he knows that. I mean, you've got all
I
this
think,
going
yeah,
on
I
with the
think
QE as
possibly, yeah,
well.
I think possibly he's trying to distance Scottish Labour from the Labour Party,
Hmm.
but I think it's too late. I think everyone, you know, they're all sort of tarred with the same brush, aren't they?
Hmm. Absolutely.
He used to be a dentist, didn't he?
Hmm.
Yeah. So he's extracting himself from the situation.
Well, he knows everything about. Yeah, very funny.
Yeah,
He's
yeah,
got
yeah,
himself a felon. Um, extraction definitely. He knows everything about the Ravenscreek Hospital situation and
yeah,
contaminated water. And when this was raised with three Labour MSPs, they sat and said, "Oh, we're not really interested in conspiracy theories. There's the details."
yeah,
So, I mean, we've just to die of contaminated water or, you know, death protocols. It's really, really, really ripping my knitting
yeah.
these
They just
days.
don't care. They're so far out of it and removed. They don't care. Oh yeah, some people die. It's a price worth paying, basically.
But
That's how
it
they see
wouldn't,
it.
would they still feel that
If
that,
it was
if
their
it was
son or
like,
daughter, yeah,
uh-huh, reverting back to the QE here, and I don't know if you saw the article on Sunday, Theresa and Matthew Smith,
I
they went,
did. Yes,
uh-huh, yeah, and yeah, they were offered £20,000 by
and
Fiona
an
McQueen
ice cream.
and an ice cream.
I've got a video, and it's probably going live as we're recording this. And I've said off. I think I've called it insufficient or no inappropriate compensation. I think it's called or something like that. And it's for people who don't know. Well, it's already out by the time we do it, so it won't. You're not missing it. But the hospital offered £20,000, a holiday to Disneyland, and some ice cream because they'd lost their daughter. Fucking ice cream.
There's quite a bit more to it than that. I don't know if you get a chance, but Fiona, Theresa has been fighting for an FAI, fatal
Yeah,
accident inquiry. Now,
yeah.
what is in the fatal accident inquiry is really concerning because the baby died of sepsis.
Hmm.
And if you read it, the hospital didn't follow their own policies
No,
in
no.
line with infection. And yet the FAI came back in line with supporting the hospital against the
Yeah.
parents of a dead
Yeah,
child.
and yet the hospital admitted it broke its own rules. Somebody, but heads never roll. Heads never roll, and they should.
They should. Jane Grant should be held to account. Her and Fiona McQueen and Anne McPherson and
Hmm.
John Brown. That was the four really, really
Yeah.
bad ones at GGC. Although Fiona McQueen was um, the head of NHS Scotland. She was the
Yes.
chief
Yeah.
nurse. I've met her twice, three times.
Yeah.
She was down in Greenock, met with me three times it was to discuss how bad the bullying was down here. The bullying down
Yeah.
here was horrific towards staff. I had members actually trying to take their own lives.
I don't doubt it. I do not doubt it.
And you've only got to look at the Lucy Letby, and there is much dubiety where
There is
she
a
did that
lot
out
more
there.
there. There is a lot more there. That is a whole video on its own, Lucy Letby.
Yes.
But
And yet you're looking at Stephen McLaughlin getting, he's outed it all on Twitter and
yes, yeah,
TikTok, and I
yeah,
was his union rep. I can confirm that everything that boy is saying
it's
is
true.
true.
Yeah, yeah,
He was suspended on false documents that he allegedly wrote, saying it was almost a corporate manslaughter issue. And he was supposed to have wrote a statement to that to to back that up, and yet the statement didn't have a signature on it or anything else. and yet he was suspended for all those years on a false document.
Yeah, they'll
There's
destroy
something
people's
far
lives
wrong.
for dogma.
Yes, I mean, I wonder if I hadn't got out when I could very much have been in jail now on some fitted up charge if I hadn't left when I did.
Yeah. Leslie, we're running out of time. I'm going to have to sort of bring this to a close. Is there any
Fine.
sort of final thoughts?
Why are they not investigating vaccination injuries? And why is the deputy chief constable putting a directive out to stop police officers doing their job?
Two questions that I suspect will never, ever be answered. Thanks very
Probably.
much. Yeah, thanks
Thank
very much,
you.
Leslie. It's an absolute pleasure. I'm going to
Right,
get this out for you later. Thank you.
brilliant. Speak soon. Bye bye.
Bye.